Bates. Good morning. First, let me start off by telling you that I was telling the guys over here, man, I love this story. I love the story about Joseph and the issues he had. I mean, it's kind of like Joseph, Job, Moses, all this, man. This Old Testament, man, is like a soap series. And then I want to qualify this today by saying Sister Mary Collins told me last week that she loves the story of Joseph and don't mess it up. So now I'm under pressure. I say, why didn't you just think it? Why didn't you have to say it? So that's where we are now. So without any further ado, as Brother Bates was telling you, we're still in the series of the lesson entitled How to Avoid Life's Pitfalls. And it's been explained to you what a pitfall is, but it's defined as a danger, a downside, or a trap, something that may be concealed or that you may not be aware of. So Joseph went through some pitfalls, and we all go through some pitfalls. Everybody had some kind of duress, and I'd like for y'all to think of one thing that you had as far as a duress or distress, and then I'm going to ask for a volunteer in a little bit if you're willing to share that one point, if you could say something briefly. In session one, Deacon Nunn passionately taught the pitfall of betrayal. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son and was hated by his brothers because of this, and also because he had a dream, and he kind of messed with his brothers about, hey, one day, you guys going to bow down to me. They already hated him. Then he said, such arrogance. You mean we going to all bow down to you? So they decided one day to kill him. And imagine wanting to kill your own brother, right? So they decided to kill him. But later on they said, well, let's just sell him, all right? And they decided to sell him for 8 ounces of silver. Surely he should have been worth more than that, but they just wanted to get rid of him, all right? And they sold him at the age of 17 to some traders that were coming by. And he eventually wound up being in Egypt under the direction of Potiphar. And imagine that. You're in a strange land, not knowing nobody. You're not enslaved. He used to live the good life, so he was favored. Now he's distressed. Imagine that. So at this point, God was still with him. So God granted him favor. Everything he touched in that household prospered. So Potiphar eventually just put him as the head of everything, his home and all of his possessions, everything except his wife. All right? And we'll get back to that. Potiphar was the Pharaoh's captain of the guard. And although Potiphar was really impressed with Joseph, Potiphar's wife was even more impressed. In fact, she was enamored. And she decided that I need this guy in my life. So she tried and to get him to sleep with her. And, Joe was distressed. Could have been in a bad mind. You got to have been thrown into slavery. Your morals could drop, right? You can say, man, why not, right? Everything else is happening to me, but God was with him. He knew that God had a plan for him, and he said he spurned her. He told her, no, I'm not interested, but she pursued him over day after day. And finally, she set him up, caught him in the house with nobody there. And she propositioned him then. The man, he left. He not only did he left, he ran out of there. She caught him by the clothes, and And he still got away, and she said, okay. Yeah, nothing like a woman scorned, so I hear. So she told her husband, told the people there, hey, look, I got his clothes. The man tried to rape me. Another distress, another pitfall, man. And so he was going through all this, but God was still with him. She told her husband, and he was placed in jail. That's amazing, right? Then Sister Horn came in and brilliantly did session 2. The pitfall, and that's part of that, what I just discussed, the pitfall of temptation. That's the temptation was Potiphar's wife coming after him. And she handled that brilliantly. And like I said, it couldn't have been easy for the average man to resist because he was down. And a lot of times, man, you go to the bottle, right? Go to drugs, go to sex, or whatever it is to make you feel better. But he was strong. He knew God had some plan for him, and he wasn't going to turn his back on God. And one thing we do know, when God is with you, you don't need nothing else. And her point to her story was, remembering what is at stake helps us to overcome temptation. And the point for the pitfall of betrayal was, God is at work even when it's not obvious. You may not see him, but he's there. All right? So let's pray. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the ones that's here today. We give you all praise, honor, and glory because you deserve it for creating the heavens and the earth that makes you all powerful and in control. We ask that you touch our hearts and minds today and the students that they can receive this message in the manner in which you want to receive. Touch my heart and mind so I can deliver it in the manner in which you want me to give it. And help us take this lesson to build up our trust in you and to bring more souls to you. Continue to bless and heal our pastor, Reverend Ronnie. This we ask and say in your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. As I said before, this is a segue into our lesson today, the pitfall of injustice. We've already witnessed in the earlier lessons about 3-4 injustices, right? The man was hated. Can you imagine living in a home where all 10 brothers, all of them hate you, you know? Hate you enough not just to kick you out the house, to beat you up as some brothers do to their younger brother. They wanted to kill him. So that was an injustice. Then he was sold into slavery. He wasn't just kicked out the house. He was sold for money. 2 injustices. Then he was sent to a foreign land, nothing he knew about. Didn't have no friends or nothing in slavery. 3 injustices, right? But he was favored. He was initially favored by his father, favored by Potiphar. But then he got another injustice, a woman coming after him. You know, sometimes, man, when we were younger, we were flattered when somebody was interested in. But when a woman came at me too hard, I said, something wrong, because I'm not that good. You know what I mean? Something wrong with you. Why are you so interested in me? I couldn't understand it, and it scared me. So, you know, does that make sense? Right? So this is another injustice that he had. That was amazing, right? Alan Brennan once said, I've come to believe that how we choose to live with pain or injustice or death is the true measure of the divine within us. Let me say that again. Alan Brennan once said, I've come to believe that how we choose to live with pain or injustice or death is the true measure of the divine within us. The setting. Wrongfully accused of attempted rape, Joseph finds himself having to work through the injustice that made him a criminal behind bars. However, even in prison, the Lord was with him and gave him favor with the warden. As I said before, everything he did was good because God made it good. He prospered. Isn't it great to know that God is with you and that you're not alone? We had a discussion Friday about issues that people go through, And, it's enough to just want you to say, man, I'm tired of it. Let's take me, But when you know that you have a support system, when you know you got a mother, a father, a sister, a friend, church member, somebody that's in your corner, you can make it work, right? You can deal with it because you're not alone. And then when they tell you, man, I'm going through the same thing, you don't wish that on nobody, but makes you feel better that it's just not me. I wasn't singled out, right? But when you got Superman on your back, how can you lose? So he knew that God was with me, and so with him, because he had seen in his dreams in Wayne's earlier session that he had a vision where he was going to be a ruler. People were going to bow down to him. I remember when I was coming up, I wasn't the best kid, okay? So in church, but my pastor, when the kids messed up, he was old school, so he'd bring us to the pulpit and say, come on up here and lie on your belly, son, and till you get your head right. So, but he always told me, he favored me. Now, I was up there quite often. In fact, my wife went to my church when I was little. I didn't know her, but she remembered me being up there, so it happened. But he would always tell me, he said, you're going to be a preacher. You're going to be special. He'd buy me Bibles and all. He took a hankering to me. And that's what kept me, whenever I got into situations thinking that, man, this is depressing. I thought about some of the encouragement I got from him, my mother, my father, and my uncles. And that kept me forging ahead. So that's what was happening with Joseph. He had gotten that dream, and he said, God had told him he was going to be special. He said, now, I'm in jail, going through this. Woman's after me, put me in jail. Her husband, Potiphar, was captain of the bodyguard for Pharaoh. He could have had him killed, right? But he decided, I'm just going to throw him to this prison. And so, but he kept remembering God said, I'm going to be special. So he had that the carrot on the stick that he was following. So that's what was happening there. The passages come from Genesis chapter 39, verses 21 and 13, chapters 40, verses 4 through 8, and verses 20 through 23. And Sister Wagner's going to read that for us. Before she does that, let me just tell you something about this book. Moses wrote this book. Moses is the Old Testament's greatest prophet. His job was to lead God's people out of Egypt and into the Promised Land. Moses enjoyed a more intimate revelation of God than anyone who ever lived. After meeting with God, his face would radiate with light so much so that it actually frightened people that were around him. Because Moses knew God so well, he helped save a nation through his efforts and unselfish prayer. So since Moses knew God so well, it just seemed right that he's going to write a book in the Bible, right? Sister Wagner, would you read for us, please, Genesis chapter 39, verses 21 through 23. What manner of traits did Joseph possess that had Potiphar? Potiphar didn't know God was with him when he met him. That had Potiphar so impressed with him that he put him a slave over everything he owned. What traits? Somebody name some traits that he could have had that just made him stand out like that. You know, after working. He was trustworthy. Integrity. Anybody else? Huh? Bossy. Anything else? All of those are good. Administrative skills, charisma, inner strength. It's something. It's something about a great believer, right? It's something about their walk. It's something about their talk. It's something about the way they interface with people that make them stand out. You may not like them, huh? But when it comes to your money, your friend that you know still, you're not going to give it to him. He'll say, hold my money for you. I don't like you, man. I'll beat you up if you, but hold my money. They trust you. You have an integrity. There's something about you. There's a aura, wouldn't you say, about you? I look at some of the women and the men here, and I respect them. I come to church, really, I make a point to try and talk to most people when I come here because I miss y'all during the week, and I like the way you carry yourself. You guys have that special concern and love for other people. That's a good thing. They saw that in him. They saw great skills in him, and that's amazing. And we should carry that walk with us as well. And because God was with him, and that's a beautiful thing. The keeper, the keeper of the prison, the warden, even just jeopardized his career by placing a prisoner over other prisoners and had control. Here's the beauty of it. He never supervised him. Huh? Even at my job, my best worker, I may tell him, hey, take this, I'm giving you this part, and yeah, I expect you to, and I may give him something to go, but every day I might just come by, how's it going, man? You all right? I may not ask him about the job, but I'm giving them the chance to say, hey, look, there's something wrong, tell me now. You know, hey, how's it going? How's the drawing going? It's going good. No problem, right? Oh, good. I walk away. They let him go. They said he never worried about nothing. The warden never worried about nothing. Potiphar never worried about nothing. Isn't that amazing? How many of you ever been in jobs where the supervisor, your lead, never asked you nothing? What do they do? Go play golf? Hey, take this. You handle this. If my boss coming out, just tell him I'm taking care of some business somewhere else, and you handle it. Huh? That's how trustworthy, as Brother Lloyd said, Joseph was. And that's a beautiful thing, because God was special. God had, I guess, he probably didn't have a radiance in his face like Moses, but he had that aura. All right? So he had certain attributes that was good, but primarily it was the strength and the protection and the wisdom that God gave him. Now, once again, Potiphar's wife got him put in prison. That's terrible. I'd be sulking, mad. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Believers should do everything well. You know, respect even your oppressors. When you place in a job you don't like, you still do it well. Because word's going to get out that cream's going to rise, right? Cream's going to rise no matter what. The word's going to get out. And even with the sports league, they talk about, well, we don't have no athletes here, and so let's lose some games so we can get a first-round draft choice, right? Now, you're on that team playing for them, they telling you to lose. Man, my career's at stake. You guys may trade me next year. They going to see me playing lousy. Can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm representing God. I can't do that. I don't even have that gene in me. I'm not going to do it. So as Sister Lloyd said, he made a point to do everything well. And that's what impressed also the people that were over him, Potiphar as well as the warden. Now, the prison was no place where the prison was no place that was good, right? I mean, it was a terrible place. The food was meager, bad. You were strictly at the mercy of the one that put you in there. Was it the Pharaoh or any other royal authority? You don't know whether you was getting out tomorrow or never. You didn't know if you were going to be in there solitary, or you didn't know whether you're going to be not electrocuted, hung or whatever, executed. So, I mean, imagine your disposition being in there and don't know what your outcome was going to be. When you didn't have you couldn't even mark off the wall 3 more years, 2 more years. It's like infinity minus 1, minus 2. That's what was happening to him, right? And any other person would have been just distraught, depressed. But something about this man, something about the man and God in him allowed him to deal with this, all right? Because he knew he was somebody special. And he knew that he was going to do and do right, and God was going to allow him to prosper and protect him no matter what. In some cases, the prisoners were restrained and tortured as well. No one could visit them. It's just a terrible, terrible situation. Joseph was noticed by the prison ward, for he prospered in the prison under God's favor. The warden committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners, the murderers, the robbers, the rapists. Everybody was under his care. If they did anything, Joseph had them doing it. Okay? And like I said, the warden just said, hey, handle it. Just handle it. Okay? But behind the diligence of one man, Joseph, and the logic of the warden's logic was, the man does it better than me. I'm getting all the praise and the perks that goes with me handling it well. Why even get involved with it? I think I'm going to sleep in today. What do you think, Calvin? Calvin and I are just talking about getting breakfast in the morning. Sometimes it don't happen, does it? So the warden just say, I may sleep in today because Joseph got it. But this prison could have been by Potiphar's house. The warden's name was Potiphar. Now, we're not quite sure if that was the Potiphar that was the husband of the wife, but it could have been. They just said Potiphar was this warden. It could have been part of a residence, or it could have been in a standalone fortress. It doesn't say that, but we think it was part of the residence somewhere of where this guy lived. So we know that when God is in charge, even unbelievers can see that God is in their life, right? Unbelievers can look at you and say, I hope, and don't answer this, but I hope when y'all look at me, you can say, the boy is strange. But it's possible that God is working in his life, you know. Now, I can't say it's impossible or improbable, but I think God is working in his life because every now and then I see flashes of goodness, right? Every now and then. Nobody's perfect. They say every now and then I can see a flash, right? All right. In Romans 8:28, it tells us that, and we know that God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God and those who are called according to his purpose. So no matter what you do, no matter what you do, you know that it's going to turn out good. It may not turn out good tomorrow, 2-3 years from now. It might even happen in the afterlife. But what is going to turn out to your favor? Is it not? And some lasting truths from this outline is that despite all appearances, we can count on the Lord to be with us, right? When it's looking bad, you know, you may not see him by there, but you may hear that little voice. Keep on pushing, Ron. You know? Keep on pushing. Or God may come to Brother Bates and say, Brother Bates will come up to me, Ron, you know, you may not know it, but I appreciate what you do. You know what I mean? God would have someone give you a little encouragement, right? But you would get little snippets from certain people, little visions, little voices. Somehow God will let you know, I still got you. You know, I still got you. The Lord is a God of mercy. Even if we don't deserve it, you know, he's going to take care of us because you're his child, right? You ever had a kid that just wanted a bike, right? Wanted a bike. Man, you made a D minus. Come on, I tell I'm going to buy you some jacks or something, but I'm not buying you. You know, eventually, you know, that's your child. As the preacher was saying, a couple of weeks ago, that's your child. You're going to do it. So he's going to have mercy on you, right? Even in difficulty, we are to continue to use the abilities God given us. Calvin, Wayne, the way y'all can sing, God's giving you the ability to sing, right? We may not be great, but in the shower, we can. Can we not? My wife come in there, shut up. Man, my 2-year-old say, stop it. I was singing, stop. He did like that, stop, 2 years old. I said, man, that must be really bad, really bad. But he's given us abilities. Use them. Use your abilities. Even when you don't feel like it, use the ability. Hey, man, why would God give you out and you just sitting around, right? You got ability. Everybody was given a gift. God will bring blessings to those who are faithful to them. Blessings. Blessings. I remember when I was younger, man, I was kind of struggling, and I wanted to tithe, right? And I said, man, how am I going to tithe? I'm in the negatives right now. Where am I going to get money from? And I talked to a pastor and his son. Well, I'm throwing it away. At any rate, and it explained to me, Ron, you'd be surprised. I started tithing, believe it or not, I never missed that. Never. And after that, I never had no major problems. Let me just say that every now and then it might be tight for a bill, but I got the money. And I used to complain to my mother. I say, every time I look up, I got up. They say, you got the money, right? Why are you complaining? You got the money, right? Did you pay it? I said, yeah. Well, why are you complaining? It just seems like, why are you complaining? Yeah? Anyway. Sister Wagner, as we transition, next we will see Joe. Do we have any comments on what we were talking about in this first outline? Anyone? Okay. Mm-hmm. Sounds good. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Yes, ma'am.
That says a lot about Joseph because as a newcomer, you would think he would have some challenges with him rising to the top, even in the prison, being the newcomer.
Excellent point. The old crab theory, right? Why you succeed? I'm gonna pull you down. I can't get up. I'm gonna pull you down, right?
Okay.
Sister Wagner, would you read
Yes.
Genesis 40:4-8?
Yes. The captain of the guard assigned Joseph to them as their personal attendant, and they were in custody for some time. The king of Egypt's cupbearer and baker, who were confined in the prison, each had a dream. Both had a dream on the same night, and each dream had its own meaning. When Joseph came to them in the morning, he saw that they looked distraught. So he asked Pharaoh's officers, who were in custody with him in the master's house, "Why do you look so sad today?" "We had a dream," they said to him, "but there's no one to interpret them." Then Joseph said to them, "Don't interpretations belong to God?
That's good.
Tell me your dreams."
Early in this chapter, we find that Pharaoh was offended by his officials, his chief cupbearer and the chief baker, and was furious with them and threw them in jail. And the chief cupbearer was his wine steward, right? Basically his butler. He made sure that nobody tried to poison him through wine. And his chief baker was basically his cook. And he made sure that he wasn't poisoned through his food. And they all had a very close working relationship with the Pharaoh. For them to be in those positions, they had to be highly trusted. But something that they did made the Pharaoh throw them in jail. It must have been horrendous, because that's just basically last line of protection from being assassinated as far as through food. I often think about when football teams or baseball teams go from city to city, and they have to go to these hotels, right? And there are fans that just, hey, look, I'm in the kitchen. I don't want to kill you, but you're going to have a tummy ache the day of that game. You know what I mean? And you don't have no protection. I don't know how that works, but evidently God has found favor with them, right? The captain of the guard brought these two prisoners to Joseph with an order for him to serve them. Now imagine that. You're already irritated. You're already over prisoners already. Now they bring in some high officials. Now they may get out tomorrow, and how I treat them, they may influence the Pharaoh to take me out, So now he's had added pressure. Now me personally, I'm gonna probably, because I'm not all the way there yet, and God is still working with me. I may be saying, what else would they do to me? This is starting to get, I'm gonna say it kind of low because I don't want nobody to execute me. But I'm gonna say this is getting kind of bad, right? So I can imagine that, but he didn't sulk. He didn't complain. He didn't even treat them bad. And as the scripture was saying, one day he saw that they were, he had the ability, the compassion to even notice that they were sad. Why are you sad? Because we have a dream. We both had a dream on the same night, right? And why are you sad? Because we don't have a professional interpreter to interpret our dreams. because, he wasn't going to get that in jail, right? I might say, yeah, well, for what's some of the food they have in jail? For your, Roman noodles? I interpreted, yeah, man, you're gonna miss your flight tomorrow, okay? So whatever, they could say anything, but that's why they were saying, because that culture believed that when you got a dream, it meant something. Some divinity was trying to tell you something. So they needed to know. They were already in jail. So we need to find out what's going on in our life, right? So they say, we're sad because we don't have nobody to interpret our dreams. And then he said, here's the beauty of it, this story. As I said, he wasn't sulking, Joseph wasn't sulking, but you know what? He found this a teaching opportunity, right? He says, let me tell you about God, right? He led them to God. God interprets dreams, right? He can interpret them. I'm going to interpret your dream, but God's going to give me the inspiration of what's going on. God is the creator of the heavens and earth, by the way, right? All things are possible through him, right? Do you believe that? Will you believe my dream, right? Or my interpretation? Yeah, he brought them to God in his dire straits. He brought them to God. And Joseph, the two prisoners were in bounds because of something they had done, but Joseph was innocent. How can we convey our faith in God when we're at our low point? Huh? Have y'all ever had a low point this week, last week, a week before? Huh? Well, sometimes you're in a bad. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Stop messing with me. I'm going through my own issues. Get out of here. You're depressed. You don't want no bother about it, but you're already in there. You're up there trying to figure out what in the world is going on with me. Right? What in the world is going on with me? Hey, why are you? No. What's the issue? Here, let me help you. Man, that's God-like. That's a trait that we all need to be able to handle, Not no talking about it, no gossiping, no saying, stop it, I don't want to hear it. Here, let me help you, all right? I remember when I was at my company, and I was just there, and they gave me an assignment to do, and I couldn't figure out how to do this. What was worse, the old heads didn't know how to do it. I don't know what they told you to do, man, right? But this fair-haired guy came, and he asked the same guy, can you help me with this? And they helped him. He helped them. And I'm saying, okay, I see how this works, right? I see how this works. I say, what I have to do is kind of trick him. I'm going to ask him, like, I was thinking about doing this like this or this. What do you think is better? Oh, I would do that. They weren't going to give me no scratch help from scratch. So, but God is there for us, right? So, we can convey our faithfulness to God by our unwavering trust in our obedience that we're doing what God asks us to do and continuing to serve others and serve him faithfully, right? Some lasting truths from this is that even during our trying times, others too face their own difficulties, right? They're going through their own issues. So when you're upset, that makes them even worse, because I was going through issues that's even worse. Man, at one time they say, if everybody in here put their problems on the table and you had a chance to get anybody else's problems, they say most people are going to take theirs back after they see what everybody else is going through, right? Our difficulties are not to be an excuse for ignoring others who are troubled. Don't use that as an excuse. Help them. God is giving you gifts. God is to be given credit for the good we do, since it is only by his grace to us that we're able to do good at all, right? Okay. Before we get into this next outline, I'm going to ask Wayne to read Genesis chapter 40, 9 through go 9 through 15 for now. I'll give you the other part later on. This is what happened before we get to the next outline, okay? Joseph and God are doing some serious interpretations of dreams. All right.
And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and its blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said unto them, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within yet 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head and restore thee unto thine office, and thou shalt give Pharaoh's cup unto his hand, after the former manner when thou wast his butler, but have me in thy remembrance when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness. I pray thee unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of his house. For indeed I was stolen away out of the land of the Hebrews, and here also have I done nothing that they should put me in the dungeon. Keep going.
Okay, no, that's good. At this point, Joseph says, stop it. I got it. Let me tell you what's happening here, right? Stop it. I got it. Me and God has inspired me to tell you this. Joseph say, you're going to have a favorable outcome from this, right? The cupbearer's dream was favorable. And he interpreted, and it was telling him that he was going to be restored back to Pharaoh's service. He said, all this is telling you you're going to be restored in 3 days back to Pharaoh's service, the Pharaoh's service. So stop worrying about it. You just had a dream in your job category about wine. That's what you do. But he's just telling you in 3 days you're going to be restored. Because the grapes were ripe, everything plump and juice and everything's coming out there. So you're going to be restored. The 3 vines said in 3 days. So you don't have to worry about nothing. Got it? But listen, once you get back into his service, I need you to do me a solid, right? You're right there. You're at the Pharaoh's ear. So tell him about me here in prison, because I'm being forgotten. All I ask is tell him that I don't deserve to be here. Let him know the type of person I am and try and help me get out of this. That's all I ask. Would you do that for me? Right? All right. Would you read the rest, 16 through 19?
When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, 3 baskets of white bread were on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was of all manner of baked food for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within yet 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh off thee. And it came. That's it?
Okay. All right. Now, if I was interpreting that dream at this point, I'm going to say, ooh. How do I tell him this, right? Okay, let me tell you what happened, Mr. Chief Baker. This dream was also according to your profession, what you were doing, but it's not favorable. It's not good. And actually it's morbid. Imagine you having to tell somebody that what's going to happen, like what this passage was saying, in 3 days. And he had to do it with compassion. He was a compassionate person. In 3 days, you will be hung. All right? In 3 days. And it will be so bad that while you are there, birds are going to eat your flesh. You know? But that's it. You know, I can't mince words. I got to tell you like God told me. This is what's happening. So he did it. And so let's get into the next lesson. As we transition in the next outline, we discover how things actually played out for the cupbearer and the chief baker. Sister Wagner, would you read chapter 40, verses 20 through 23? Okay.
On the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday, he gave a feast for all the servants. He elevated the chief baker, cupbearer, and the chief baker among his servants. Pharaoh restored the chief cupbearer to his position as cupbearer, and he placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. But Pharaoh hanged the chief baker, just as Joseph had explained to them. Yet the chief cupbearer did not remember Joseph. He forgot him.
3 days later, just as Joseph had predicted, the Pharaoh was going to do something, right? He hosted a feast to celebrate his birthday, and it was customary for the Pharaoh on his birthday to release certain prisoners, right? Joseph's interpretations proved to be true and spot on. He was right on it. He didn't miss a beat, unfortunately for the chief baker. Pharaoh he had all his servants at this feast because he wanted them to see what was going to happen. And some of the servants knew what it was about. You know, they were trying to figure out, well, we know they were in jail. What is he going to do with them, right? Because he invited them as well. Pharaoh restored the cupbearer to his position. He took his head, lifted him up, lifted up his head, kind of raised up his face so everybody can see. And he restored him back to his position. But he gave the verdict to the chief baker, kill him. Kill him. So, just as Joseph predicted. But Joseph was simply forgotten in prison. When the cupbearer got restored back to his position, he wasn't worried about that prison, what happened into it. Joseph had, guess what, had another injustice. My hope. my hope of getting out of here, the guy didn't say nothing. I gave him a positive interpretation. He didn't mention me. He didn't say, by the way, whoever that was, he didn't say that. He just forgot him. Another injustice. Because of this, Joseph spent 2 more years in prison before he actually got the favor from the Pharaoh. Because this guy forgot him. People will disappoint us, right? I may disappoint you. I don't mean to. But hey, look, I'm not all there yet. I make mistakes. Joseph displayed extreme patience, did he not? Extreme patience, perseverance, and maturity. He came a long way from that 17-year-old boy when he used to flaunt in front of his brothers that hated him. Guess what? One day, y'all gonna bow down to me. Make no mistake. We already hate you, man. Why you gotta say all that? He came a long way from that. He had maturity now. You know? Each hardship he went through made him stronger, made him able to deal with more injustices in his life. Pretty much it was just falling off his back because right at this point, God had forced strength in him through all these injustices. He was able to endure, and he knew that God still had his back, and he knew that carrot was still in front of him and that he was going to make it, and he was going to be successful because God told him he was. And he counted on that. People will disappoint us. We learned that Joseph spent about 13 years had passed from the time that Joseph was in Potiphar's house until the time he came out of prison. But yet God was still with him. And that's significant. God he did not misunderstand God's revelations for him by his dreams. He might not have understood his imprisonment, but he was encouraged through his persistent faith, which was not destroyed by the circumstances. Lasting truths from this: our best efforts and commitment to others may go unnoticed and unrewarded. We may not be rewarded by the good things we have. Y'all ever lent money to somebody? May have lent money to them 50 times, but the one time you don't, man, they give you all kind of trouble. Man, I lent you money 50 times. I can't do it now. Now you upset. I know you got it. How do you know what I have? You know, it may go unnoticed, all the good things that you do, right? The lack of concern and neglect by others bring disappointment to us, right? But we got to still hang in there and still show our godly qualities. Even if others forget us and fail us, we can be encouraged by knowing that the Lord will never forget us or fail us. In Psalms 27:14, in conclusion, wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thy heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Life is not always fair. We all struggle with injustices. So how do we deal with them? Here's what we learn from Joseph's story. Obedience. Be obedient to God is the key to experiencing God's blessing. Keep doing good in the face of injustice. That is what a person of faith does. Remarkably, Joseph's long ordeal didn't make him a victim or weaken him by what he suffered, but it made him a stronger man whose character was positively forged by hardship. As the gospel song by Damian Price says, what the devil meant for bad, God meant it for good, right? Now, what about you? How will you respond when you are faced with pitfalls of injustice? Joseph kept his eyes looking up when his life was bringing him down. May we learn to do the same. And finally, I want to tell you the last stanza of this poem, of the man who thinks he can. And Arthur would know this if he's in here. It says, the last stanza said, the man who thinks, and I'm putting a twist on this, The Man Who Thinks He Can by Walter D. Whittle. Life battles don't always go to the stronger, faster man. But sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who's in God's plan. Thank you. Any comments before we say that? We have any comments? Anybody?
Good lesson, Deacon Pierre. I just want to kind of think. I was thinking about it as you were talking about how Joseph was going through these trials, and I thought about, perseverance produces character. Character produces hope, and you can see how Joseph persevered through all these difficult times, and like you talked about how he was maturing, how his character was being developed, because he knew he had hope in God. So he stayed the course. So that's what I just want to say. Joseph stayed the course. He never, veered from God. He always stayed the course, even through all those difficult times. Thank you so much.
Well said.
Thank you, Wayne.
Anybody else?